All right, Larson, it's time for another round of wrestling what ifs, and I'm going to kick this off with the greatest what if in the history of pro wrestling, Larson.
God damn it.
What if the Real World's Championship was defended by CM Punk? Who would become the new actual Real World's Champion?
He did defend it against Samoa Joe in his last match in AEW. That was for the Real World Championship.
Right, but like, what if they were going to do a unification match? Who would have won that one?
Oh, probably Phil.
Yeah, it was probationary period.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then he was going to strap him right back to the rocket ship to the moon.
Yeah, prove that you can go a few months without getting hurt.
Yeah, or choking people. Anyways.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
let's start with this one from Anthony. What if Bret never got concussed by Goldberg?
Oh, yeah.
Would he have come back to WWE sooner? At the time, who should have been his final match? Anthony's opinion is Shawn Michaels.
So he got concussed by Goldberg in 99, and then he wrestled for like a couple months, and then they were like, oh, you can't be doing that.
Yeah.
And then he had to retire.
He had a stroke while riding his bicycle.
He is, if I'm not mistaken, he is a little bit older than Shawn Michaels.
That sounds right.
Maybe by like 5 years or so.
Uh-huh.
He also wrestles a much less impactful style, because I'm trying to think of parallels here.
Yeah.
And Shawn Michaels came back in 2002.
Yeah. Something like that.
Or 3. And lasted another...
2002, Survivor Series 2002.
Right, November. So he lasted another, 5 years or whatever?
Roughly.
Okay. I think it's entirely conceivable that maybe, just maybe, and I think also it would have depended maybe on... another what if, a more sad one, what if Owen Hart hadn't passed? If Bret had ended up back in WWF, we totally could have gotten a WrestleMania Bret Hart Undertaker match. Mm-hmm. Maybe, just maybe, Bret could have been, if everybody sort of made good, Bret could have been involved somehow, some way in the end of an era match. Mm-hmm. I don't know how, but could you imagine if like Shawn Michaels was the guest referee, but they made Bret Hart the special guest enforcer?
Yeah.
That could have been fucking cool.
There'd be some wild dynamic going on there.
That would have been nuts.
Even more, after WWF bought WCW, the thing about Bret coming back, assuming he and Vince could have patched things up sooner than they eventually did. Bret having, one last feud against Steve Austin.
Yes. Yeah.
The feud that launched Stone Cold to be a main eventer.
Yeah.
Revisiting that.
Yeah.
At a WrestleMania at some point,
Could you imagine if that was the 2003 Stone Cold's last match?
Would have been something else.
The bookend right there. The match that made him, and then the match that, he sent him off.
Yep.
Which would have been nuts because Bret Hart had been around for so much longer than Austin, in general anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there were a lot of possibilities. I think the fact that Bret's, like I said, the way his style of wrestling was, generally speaking, not a very impactful one where he's like, unless he's up against Goldberg, he's not taking a lot of shots to the head.
Yeah, or crazy bumps and stuff like that.
So it's entirely possible he could have had a much longer run. Mm-hmm. And then maybe around 2010, when he eventually did have that gimmick match in WWF, maybe he would have had a proper farewell match.
Yeah.
Maybe him versus HBK would have been the last match instead of The Undertaker. It'd have been really interesting to know what the dynamic would have been with Bret, Taker, HBK, Triple H, yeah, Austin, all kind of in the company maybe around the same time. Would it have enticed Austin to stay around a little bit longer? So, Bret Hart versus Brock Lesnar was a possibility.
Yeah.
There was a lot of matches, especially once the WCW, ECW thing happened, where the matches that we didn't really get that we totally could have gotten, should have what?
You could have got CM Punk versus Bret Hart.
We could have had CM. Who would have been? So, yeah.
Oh, for heaven's sake.
The first AEW champion versus the Real World.
You're a fool. So you could have Daniel Bryan versus Bret Hart.
Daniel Bryan. Oh, my God. We could have had Daniel Bryan versus Bret. Golly. That Goldberg's a real piece of shit. Oh, man. All right. Let's move on to some of these others. 1, 2, 3, Sand 1 or something says, what if Triple H, the game. Oh, Hunter, I know you did it. Called CM Punk in 2014 instead of WWE firing CM Punk. What if after Phil stormed out and said, I don't need you for WrestleMania, you need me for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And then he went and he got concussed in the Royal Rumble match, and then he was like, peace out, I'm out of here.
He got concussed first, then the conversation happened about it. I don't know.
Oh, is that how it was?
Yeah, it was
okay.
the Raw after the
Oh,
Rumble
yeah,
where he said
you're right.
that.
So he leaves. So, like, cooler heads, Vince is like, hey, listen, man, this guy sells a lot of merch. We really, I get rumblings that probably in around 5 years or so, there's going to be a competitor. We really need.
Something tells me he's going to be the real world champion at some point. Go ahead, Steve.
He's going to be the real world's champion. And so he was like, Paul.
No, here's the thing.
You got to call Phil.
No, here's the thing, because Triple H is like, yeah, sure, I'm going to call Phil. And he goes and works out with Sheamus and tells him, you're going to be my number one guy.
Oh, really, brother? I'm going to be the real world's champion, you're saying.
And then Triple H would go to Vince like, yeah, I called him and left a voicemail and never called me back.
Oh, my God. Paul is lying to Vince?
Yeah, because he didn't like CM Punk.
No, he didn't. He didn't, but he's also a student of Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon didn't like Ultimate Warrior. He brought him back 3 times.
Yeah, it didn't work out any time for him.
No, but he never really learned that lesson because he bring back people all the time. So, look, what if somehow, some way, Triple H is sitting there. This is what
would have happened. It was in Triple H called CM Punk, hey, Phil, you want to come back?
Hey, listen, yo.
And guess what? Triple H would have beat him at WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah, boy, oof. Yeah, I don't know. If, those are 2 big things. If Triple H was like, hey, listen, the guy's getting married. He's got a lot on his mind. I know that he probably got like a lot of planning they're doing right now. And he's like, so I'm gonna let this go, right? I'm not gonna take that personally that he said I need him for WrestleMania because I'm the game. I don't need anybody. I am WrestleMania. And he made the call and he said, listen, you go over me, brother. All right, let's do that. CM Punk beats Triple. Oh, come on, Triple H lost a lot at WrestleMania. You beat me at WrestleMania, and we'll talk about next year. Maybe you can main event. All right.
But here's the other aspect of it is, yes, CM Punk was upset about his own lot, his own trajectory facing Triple H at WrestleMania, but he had an issue with, I think, philosophically with the company not running with Daniel Bryan either. So him actually facing Triple H would have put a roadblock in the eventual change that led to Daniel Bryan being the main event of WrestleMania 30.
So originally, I think it was supposed to be Daniel Bryan Sheamus.
It was.
Yeah, and it was supposed to be Triple H Punk.
Yep.
And then it was Batista and Orton.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't know. A lot would have had to have changed in terms of egos and personalities. I'll be honest with you, man. I understand that CM Punk he was a very motivated guy. He was a very ambitious guy. He wanted to get to the WrestleMania main event. He wanted to be the guy. I also really think that, and I'm getting a lot of this both from his Colt Cabana interview and what we just sort of know from everybody, they would run these dudes into the ground. And I think that the way, as I talked about Bret Hart, CM Punk, his style is very like leave everything out there. Mm-hmm. It's like go full force. And I feel like he was the kind of guy who really would have benefited from somebody at the top who gave a damn about the health of their wrestlers.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And so like the ability for him to take time off without Vince getting, hey, we need you back. We need you back in 2 weeks.
Just recently, Randy Orton was talking in an interview about how not too long ago, he went to Vince and was like, my back sucks. Can I not wrestle so much?
Yeah.
And Vince just said something along the lines of, Mother Nature catches up with all of us. It doesn't want to give him this time off. I'm like, this is one of your
it's Randy Orton
cornerstones of your promotion over the last 20 years. And you're not going to give him an extra day off a week?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And I do,
all he's given for your company.
And I think that that's it's such a big what if because there was so much that just seemed to be it seemed to lead to that if any of those things fell by the wayside, there's still the central issue of Vince was just running that guy into the ground. And that's one what if that could never change.
Yeah, that wouldn't have changed.
Yeah. So, but no, I don't know. If they had gone ahead with that WrestleMania, everybody would have been probably still like it would have been not a good run. It just wouldn't have been good. It wouldn't
have been a terribly good WrestleMania.
It wouldn't have been good. Like the fans didn't want any of that shit.
No. Nope.
Looney Tunes back in action. Here's another one that's sort of hard to. This one's actually kind of easy. He says, what if Vince McMahon was never forced out of the company? Let's say the lawsuit never happened. The question here is, do you think it would still be doing good creatively, or what differences do you think there would be? Larson, all you got to do to wonder about, to ask yourself about this question, look at the Raw after Mania from not this year, obviously, but last year.
The year prior, that's what we'd be getting.
And it would be the same thing. You know, when you look at WWE back in 2019 and you see how the wrestlers were performing as characters and just how lost so many of them were.
That's what it would have been.
It's like you're up there doing theater and somebody like rushes you a new script with brand new lines and your character all of a sudden has different motivations.
Mm-hmm.
Like they would just go out there absolutely lost.
Yep.
And make the best of it. Nowadays, they go out there understanding who they are, what they're doing. They have trust in creative. They have trust in Triple H, and they do it well. So, I mean, the what if here is, would it be good? No.
No, it'd be terrible.
It would not be good at all.
Eric, sorry, I can't read the last name, says, what if Okada joined the U?
The U! Throw your U's up!
Instead of going to AEW, join the Elite.
You know, so here's, I like this what if because it's so outlandish. They would have brought him straight to main roster.
Oh, yeah.
They were clearly using Nakamura to try to lure him there.
Absolutely.
And ever since he signed with AEW, they're like, hey, Nakamura, you didn't get the job done. So now I think I saw a graphic the other day. He's gone like 1-37 or something.
Yeah, he is. He's on a horrible, horrible losing streak.
Putting up Solo Sikoa numbers right now.
Yeah,
Throw your ones
I
up.
know.
So what if, what's the question?
What if Okada joined the U?
The U!
Instead of going to AEW, join the Elite. So Okada goes to NXT, which wouldn't have happened. He would have been straight to main roster.
Hold on. I think there's a story there. One of the stories that they seem to like telling now, and you see this essentially with Braun Breaker, is I'm not being used right, and now I'm pissed off about it. And if Okada shows up in NXT and he joins the U, he'd be like, what the fuck am I doing? I'm the Rainmaker.
But that's the thing is you say he joins the U as in he has a choice in the matter. If he shows up and they have a segment where Ava essentially says, I think Chase U be the best to get you acclimated to NXT.
Yeah. No, dude, this is how he debuts. It's Andre Chase up at the podium and he's yelling at people and the camera shows the audience and like Thea Hale raises her hand and just in the background out of focus you see Kazuchika Okada and then like he raises his hand, it goes to him and he's like, what am I doing here? And he's like, what are you doing here? Ava says it'd be best for you to be here, so shut the fuck up. And he throws a chair.
Yeah.
And that's how they debut Kazuchika Okada in NXT. And then he goes out there, he's just annihilating everybody.
Yeah.
And then he turns on Andre Chase, annihilates him. One Rainmaker to everybody. Doesn't,
of course.
None of this multiple Rainmaker business. One Rainmaker for everybody. And then, you know, eventually he becomes NXT champion and he's a big deal. It's a terrible idea.
It is a terrible idea. Adrian here asks, what if MJF went to WWE instead? Chase you
for MJF. Cam Popplestone says, what if The Rock's, throw your L's up for the final boss. What if The Rock's Hollywood career didn't pan out and after Southland Tales? And after WrestleMania 20 in 2004, he re-signed full-time with the WWE again. The impact on the rise of Cena and Batista to the top level might have been huge for one if Rock was there as a top guy from Mania's 21 to 30. I mean, you can look at some degree of parallels if Rock was more of like a Lesnar level guy and not like a Hollywood guy.
Yeah. If it was a situation where he was still obviously a top guy, but not necessarily on TV every week.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It would have been, yeah. I mean, there would have been definitely some feuds that could have been interesting for, like, I don't know if we ever got Batista Rock as a feud. That could have been cool. Rock being Cena's main foil, like we talked about, I think in the beginning of this episode, like Bret Hart.
Yeah.
and Austin, because Bret Hart had been there for a while before Austin came as his persona. Like there could have been some interesting situations there.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
I mean, there's like a whole fucking 10 years of fantasy book we're not going to get into.
No, that's too much.
Yeah. But no, I think like if a Lesnar type situation would have been interesting.
Because here's the thing, even if his Hollywood career didn't pan out initially, I don't think that'd be necessarily something he would give up on.
Yeah, I mean...
And rather than moving full-time onto the acting stuff, going to Hollywood, he'd be like, oh, I'll wrestle some, and maybe I'll still try to kickstart this acting career.
So it depends. Like, okay, you can definitely look at somebody else, like the guy that he's compared to, Steve Austin. His acting career did not really pan out. He had a couple of straight to DVDs, and that's kind of it.
Well, he had the Condemned? That was a theatrical release, wasn't it?
So, like, do you think? Yeah, it was. Do you think The Rock would have taken kind of a similar approach? Like, maybe he would have had if he didn't want to wrestle, like a couple of reality shows here and there, a podcast. Maybe
he would have got involved in the business side of WWE sooner than
that could be
than now.
Could he have been like him and Triple H? Like, because Triple H was around in that capacity.
On-screen authority figure.
Oh, wow.
Imagine how excited the crowd would be if the show opened up with a 20-minute on-screen authority figure promo from The Rock every episode of Raw.
It all depends on which Rock we'd be getting. 2003, 2004, like 2002, 2003, Rock was insufferable. He like legitimately seemed like the guy was on cocaine the whole time. I'm not saying he was. I'm not saying he wasn't. Let's see here. Do we have any other what ifs?
That might be the last one.
All right, cool. Right on.
We're done.
That's going to do it. Be sure you're subbed to the channel because if you're not, you'll miss out on the what if and hot take threads. So you got to make sure you're doing that.
Yeah.
I'm going to do a 4-hour video fantasy book in the Real World Championship.
You can do that by yourself.
AEW story. Oh, really?
No.
Oh, man. I was really
hoping. I have the story. You give it to Jack Perry.